Mondelez, formerly known as Kraft Foods, and I promise this is the last year I'm going to say formerly known as Kraft Foods. I think you've done your work, and now we're just talking about Mondelez now. Vishal is the Vice President and Area Director for Middle East, looking after a couple of production facilities here in the region, plus all marketing, finance, and logistics support. He will be talking about food waste in this region. So I'd like to welcome Vishal to the stage, please, for his presentation. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So, good afternoon. Thank you for coming back, like you said, and we have the graveyard shift. Do my best to keep you awake. If you're feeling sleepy, ask a question would be a good way to go. Well, let me try and start by giving you a little bit of an update on Mondelez International. Like he said, we are not very well known because we are only about 18 months old. The company was established, completely reimagined as a global snacks company with the objective of spreading our great brands around the world, bringing joy to our consumers. We were spun off from Kraft Foods, which is a more well-known, was a well-known brand. We retain the same brands, but Kraft Foods outside the US, or the global arm of Kraft Foods, was spun off as a separate company, and it's called Mondelez. Should also add, the word Mondelez came up from our own employees. So Mond is the world in Latin, and Delez is delicious. So it stands for a delicious world, and which is what we stand for as an organization. We have 100,000 employees, which we've had for a length of time. We still sell in 170 countries around the world, and we sell some really great brands, which I thought I'd put a picture of. Our key categories these days are chocolate, beverages, biscuits, gum and candy, and cheese. We are the #1 chocolate company in the world. You will recognize some brands up there: Cadbury Dairy Milk, Milka, Toblerone, Côte d'Or. We are the #2 coffee company in the world. And again, Jacobs, you'd know, Tassimo, if you've heard of, Kenco in the UK, Maxwell House in the US. And we are the #1 refreshment powdered beverage company in the world, which is Tang, which is a powdered beverage. We are the #1 biscuits company in the world. You know some of the brands there. We are the #1 candy company in the world, Halls and Eclairs being our big brands. We have actually the #1 chewing gum brand in the world in Trident. We're the #2 gum company in the world. And we are a very preeminent cheese company with the brands which you've heard of, especially in this region, Kraft and Philadelphia. So I speak to you here as representing a global snacks powerhouse, one of a preeminent food company in the world, and want to take the next 15-20 minutes to talk about what is facing us as not just an organization, but as an industry in terms of food sustainability and security. This music is not mine. Okay, so if I want you to remember a few words from the next 20 minutes, is that as a great snacks producer in the world, we love food, and we absolutely hate waste, because there just isn't enough food to waste in the world. There are more people than food, and people are increasing. Food isn't increasing at the same rate, and we must do something to stamp on waste and ensure sustainability of food. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates about 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted today, a year, which is about what is produced in all of sub-Saharan Africa in a year. I have been talking to people since yesterday, and people have come up to me and said, oh my God, here we must be the most wasteful society. If you go to Saudi Arabia or the UAE, we really waste food. And want to bring that in perspective, perhaps the greatest wastage of food is not on your dinner table or in your kitchen as you prepare it. It is in getting the food to your dinner table or your house. That's where most of the food is wasted. And why is it important to talk about food wastage and sustainability of food is, I think we've heard from various speakers. Yesterday somebody said we were approaching $10 billion as a population of the world, and our resources are not increasing at the same pace. Food is the single greatest, or manufacture of development of food is the single greatest human activity. So most of our effort and resources goes into manufacturing food. Over time, 80% of the deforestation of the world has been to grow food. 70% of our fresh water goes into making food. And 30% of greenhouse gas emission, energy, all goes into making food for everyone on the planet. And when we waste this, we waste water, we waste energy, and we go and cut some more trees. And therefore, it is quite incumbent on everybody who's involved in the food industry to do something about it. Interesting statistics at the bottom: 1,000 liters of water to make 1 liter of milk. An astounding 16,000 liters of water to get one hamburger on your table. So a lot of, it requires resources, and I don't think we can argue with the fact that food production requires resources. It's just that, are we utilizing these resources as efficiently as we can? And that's what this is about. What is waste? Like I said, it's not what you throw away in your home. Okay, that is waste as well, but it isn't most of it. Most of it is getting it there. Here's a picture of grain storage from India, a country where routinely people die of hunger. And this should be a criminal offense in a country like that, but they simply don't have the logistics and waste millions of tons of grain every year because they can't get it to where it needs to be. So it isn't just about making sure that the agriculture is right, but it is perhaps about 4 pillars of making sure that the agriculture is sustainable and it is efficient and it is as fair as possible to the people producing it, to the farmers. It is efficiency in manufacturing, it is efficiency in packaging, and more than anything, it is also efficiency in supply chain. So I'll try and go through each of the pillars in as quick a manner as I can. And what is our commitment in reducing waste over time? So first example I want to pick up is agriculture. A couple of examples in agriculture and what we need to do. So as a global multinational manufacturing food, we are very interested in our future depends on commodities like wheat. We are the #1 biscuit company in the world. Our future depends on commodities like sugar, like cocoa. We are the #1 chocolate company in the world. Cocoa is the most important ingredient in chocolate. And therefore, we affect the commodity because we buy so much that it actually moves the commodity. But if we don't get it consistently in good quality and in a sustainable way, it dramatically affects our fortunes and also affects the farmers' fortunes. So here's an example on wheat from Egypt. Egypt is a country of 86 million people whose staple diet is wheat, is bread. And when you take a price increase in Egypt in bread, people are on the street and there is rioting and people get very upset. So quite sensitive, and we saw that the yields of wheat in the country were dropping very dramatically year on year. And therefore, we decided to do something about it. We started off a project called Wheat for Our Children, and we offered knowledge transfer. We saw clear gaps on wastage and how they were producing, and the yields were dropping. Their self-sufficiency dropped 15 points, 12, 15 points year on year. So we've gone in there and we've started a project with knowledge transfer, with giving them ideas on how they could do that better without a great deal of effort. We can see the yields moving up. So that's one example of getting into the community and improving that. The second commodity I spoke about was cocoa. Cocoa grows only around the equator. It's a commodity which, like coffee, grows in limited places around the world. And Ghana and Ivory Coast are the major producers of cocoa in the world. But the farming industry in those countries was severely disadvantaged. And we found over time that people were doing subsistence farming, had very small plots, did not have the scale to develop them or the know-how to ensure good yields, ensure good quality. And we've started off a project called Cocoa Life in those 2 countries and have actually pledged $400 million over the next 10 years. Into the community and into ensuring that there is a sustainable farming community, because we found that the young children were just leaving the farms because it wasn't worth their time. They thought jobs in the cities were better. And therefore, what we've done is taken the subsistence farm, converted them into communities or cooperatives, which then sell as a unit and have much better scale, understand their powers better, understand the global market better. So it's not just money, but it's also knowledge transfer. It's also how to improve yields, how to ensure great quality. of product of the commodity which helps us over time. So it is a symbiotic relationship which is working very well for us and is an example of what we are doing to help our commodities. So it's a view from Mondelez International, and most, so I know my colleagues in a Unilever or a Nestle are doing similar things. We are doing, the Rainforest Alliance, for example, is something which stamps a mark on tea and coffee. We are part of that as well. We pledge money to that as well. So a lot of individual effort in ensuring that agriculture is sustainable. And perhaps, standing here, I would say a greater need for us pulling together along with governments, along with so corporations, along with government, because at a senior level we do, all our companies are represented at the World Economic Forum, at the G8 countries, on how the agricultural policy will be revamped, but it doesn't travel enough, and I think one play we need to make for the region is to come together and see what we can do in the region to make agriculture sustainable and also reduce waste. So reducing waste were the other 4 legs I talked about, and perhaps I should speak about manufacturing, because that is one arm which we make hundreds of thousands of tons of product around the world, and we must make sure that our carbon footprints are reduced over time, the gas emissions are reduced over time, and we again give ourselves pretty stringent KPIs which we try to meet and try and reduce year on year what we send to the landfill, what waste we produce. So over the last 5 years, quite proud to say that by just self-evaluation and ensuring that we are very careful, we've reduced 40% of wastage sent out to the landfills. In fact, we have 40 sites around the world which are 0 landfill sites. We don't send anything out of those sites to landfill, which is quite an achievement, and we are trying to develop more sites which don't send out waste to the market. So, and waste is not just in the manufacturing and the energy and the carbon footprint, it's also in packaging. So because we need to think of innovative ways, because the consumer will do what the consumer does, and we need to guide consumer behavior. We've reduced 200 million pounds of packaging over the last 5 years. Another 50 over the next few years is our target to reduce. And reducing packaging, you can't take away packaging from the consumers, but you try and do it in a manner which doesn't affect the consumer, and you carry innovation through. So I'll give you some examples on packaging. Very simple idea. You have a peel and peel back packaging on chocolate. So it's a resealable pack on chocolate, as you see here, which allows the consumer to reuse. So you could sell lots of 10-gram bars, or you can take up a lot of packaging, or you can sell a 100-gram bar, which the consumer can eat part of and reseal. So simple idea, we find that it reduces the total amount of packaging reduced. So on the right, you see a pack of Oreo. Again, large number of biscuits of Oreo, but you can seal it back on. So consumer can use what they want, and the packaging lasts a little bit longer. Simple ideas which help us increase or reduce the amount of packaging and increase efficiency. These are some of the packaging products we sell here in the GCC. Again, a mix of, I'm sorry, this jumps by itself, or I'm doing something wrong. A mix of small packs and large packs. We're also quite conscious of the calorie consumption in our consumers, and we try and keep some packaging where we have portion control, so down under 200 kilocalories per pack. So you will see a mix of smaller packaging where we offer portion control, and larger packs, where we try and reduce the total amount of packaging used without inconveniencing the consumer. So manufacturing efficiency and reducing our energy intake, our carbon footprint, reducing packaging. And then finally, supply chain. We have lots, and so again, as an organization, specifically Mondelez International and Kraft Foods before that, we've grown through acquisitions. We've acquired companies over time, businesses which bring us wonderful brands such as Cadbury Dairy Milk, the Lou brand of biscuits, which we've acquired. However, all of these come with different factories around the world, and we have multitude of factories, and now the organization's effort is to pull together into mega plants, which we can place closer to consumers, so we do not waste energy, effort, and efficiency in getting product from one place to the other. So the mega plant concept helps us in many ways. Yesterday we were having a conversation here as well where they were saying, well, why would you bring cheese from Australia to here? So some commodities do have to travel. Cheese has to travel from Australia and New Zealand to here because that's where it is produced. The question we have to answer as an organization, where is it best to produce? So is it best to produce in Australia and send the finished product here? Or is it best to get raw material here and produce it as close as you can to the consumers? And we are quite strongly going towards the latter, to say we will build mega plants and we will place them to where the consumer is consuming the product. So that, we believe, brings us efficiency. The second thing which it does, it gives us scale and reduces logistics waste and logistics footprint. A good example is that we sell Tang. Tang sells in these 2.5 liter tubs, which we make in Bahrain. And for a really long length of time, the tubs have been made here in Dubai, and the tubs are put in trucks, and then they are trucked off to Bahrain, where they're filled and trucked out. But if you build a scale plant which is large enough and you supply to a greater area, then you have the capability of asking your plastic supplier to come and base themselves in your facility. So our plastic supplier is now actually based within our facility, and the tubs don't have to go anywhere. It is far more efficient. We don't waste fuel and human resource in bringing up empty plastic tubs all the way from Dubai to Bahrain. And we can develop, and it's just one example, but you can make similar choices of when you have scale of creating efficiency. So again, it is efficient for us and it is efficient for the environment. So big scale plants is the way to go. We will build a few of them. We've announced a few around the world. 5 around the world have recently been announced, which will be mega facilities as close as we can to our consumer base, such as in Russia, such as in India and Mexico, and which have sufficient scale to be efficient and to be energy efficient as well. Okay, so I'll finish by not taking too much of your time, finish by, from our end, stating some commitments to the public. So very clearly saying that we will invest $600 million, 400 in cocoa and 200 in coffee over the next 10 years to ensure sustainability of our product and supply, fairness of supply of the commodities as big producers of the two commodities. We will invest $50 million in communication and ensuring that the community understands about healthy lifestyle. So again, a few questions about food and the impact on food and health of the public. And I think it's quite critical because everybody does have to eat. And it is quite important that people understand what they intake and understand the consequence of eating either this or that or not burning sufficiently. And we again find a real shift if you start telling people early. So if you go to schools, you can see a little shift in even behavior patterns of those school kids if you study them. So a fair amount of effort and investment of up to $50 million in ensuring that we talk about, communicate healthy lifestyle. 60% production around the world from zero waste to landfill sites. Again, a very ambitious target. We have only 40 sites at this time around the world, and we want to get to 60%. Cut 15% of energy, and as part of communication, also have front of pack labeling where it is necessary, sensible. So in front of pack, say, your daily guidance allowance for this product is so much. At least advise people that this is what they should eat, and if they're eating more than that, they need to exercise. And as, again, responsibility of people who make snacks, we want to spread joy through our delicious and wonderful snacks. We also want people to understand the consequences and be responsible for what they're taking. Sodium and saturated fat reduction is taking away of what is seen as bad or causing some diseases, and also adding whole grains, 25% increase in whole grains in our products as well. So again, self-regulation. I would end by saying that these are our commitments. We are working very hard towards them, and we will deliver this over time. But I know each company as a corporate part of the food industry. I know every big company has similar initiatives. They're all in little silos, and what we perhaps need to do is bring them together and somehow marry them to a regulatory body, a global body, which will help sustain this over a length of time and bring around real change in consumer habits and in the living conditions of farmers and how people eat and consume our products. Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.